Complex analysis. Important topics and CSIR Net, SET, TRBPG and Polytechnic problems covered in this video. By Professor Suraj.
This is Professor Suresh Kannan. Welcome back to CSIR NetSet Mathematical Science online course. Today we are going to see the concepts and questions and answers from Unit 2 Complex Analysis. In general, the Unit 2 Complex Analysis topic has 12% of mark for CSIR Net and for SET 12% and Tamil Nadu TRB PG and Polytechnic 10%. For GATE exam, we can expect 7% of marks, and then NBHM 4%, IIT JAM not applicable, not in the syllabus. What are the important topics in complex analysis for CSIR Net? So complex analysis, most scoring topic, questions asked every time are almost similar. Okay, so cover full portion in complex analysis. So better if you cover all the subtopics in complex analysis, you can attend almost all the questions.
1. Power series. Radius of convergence.
The radius of convergence question is asked almost every time. In all the question papers, you can see radius of convergence question. So first let us see that. Power series. What is a power series? Given a sequence an of complex numbers, the series summation n equal to 0 to infinity, summation n equal to 0 to infinity, an z minus z naught power n is called the power series about the point z naught. If you put z naught equal to, if you put z naught equal to 0, that series is called power series about the origin. For example, these are examples for power series, summation z power n by n factorial and like this. So what is the radius of convergence? The power series summation an z minus z naught power n has radius of convergence are if, so this is the condition, for all z belongs to this modulus of z minus z naught region, that must be less than r, that is the meaning. Power series converges uniformly. So for all z belongs to this region, modulus of z minus z naught less than r converges uniformly. Then we say the power series has radius of convergence, or shortly ROC R. The power series may fail to converge on, boundary. This is the boundary. On boundary, the power series may fail to converge. Inside inside it always converges. That is modulus of z minus z naught less than r. It always converges. Outside modulus of z minus z naught greater than r, the series always diverges, but no conclusion on the boundary. That is modulus of z minus z naught equal to r. The region modulus of z minus a or z naught. Okay, any point, any one point here, modulus of z minus z naught less than r is called region of convergence. And the circle modulus of z minus z naught equal to r is called the circle of convergence. In lower class itself, we studied this concept. For example, if you take the formula or expansion 1 plus x power minus 1, we know the formula, that is equal to 1 minus x plus x square, like this it will go. Whether it is valid for all x? No. This is valid only when modulus of x less than 1. Actually, this is a real series, so real number. The meaning is the for all x in the interval minus 1 to plus 1, the series converges. That is the meaning. So the series converges. Outside modulus of less than 1, the series diverges. So this is the point 0 means this is radius. So this is called radius of convergence, and the minus 1 to plus 1 region is called region of convergence. Okay, so we already know, without knowing the name radius of convergence, we know this concept already in school level itself. Let us see the questions. The power series summation 2 power minus n z power 2n converges if. When you see the question, first check whether it is z power n or z power 2n. That is important. And also whether less than alone given or less than or equal to is given. So if you see the options, here less than or equal to 2, here less than 2, here less than or equal to root 2, and this one is less than root 2. change it, less than root 2. So we have to check equal to condition also. Answer, compare the given series power series with the general power series we get. General power series is nothing but summation ak z power k. So already n is in the question, so we use the letter k. So summation 2 power minus n z power 2n. When you expand this z power 2n, n equal to 0 means the constant term will come. Z power 1 means, n equal to 1 means z square. Okay, for all other n equal to or k equal to odd number, the coefficients will be 0. So we are splitting the series into two parts. For k equal to even number and k equal to odd number. So for k equal to even number, this will be the answer, 2 power minus k by 2. How we are getting this? K equal to 2n means n equal to, substitute here, minus n equal to minus k by 2. So that is the meaning. And for all the odd terms, the coefficients will be 0. So applying root test. What is the root test? This is the formula. So keep it in mind. This is the formula. 1 by r, not r. R is the radius of convergence, but formula is 1 by r is equal to limit supremum of ak power 1 by k. That is equal to supremum of, actually limit supremum of, here already we splitted, so split here also. First one is this one, 2 power minus k by 2, right? And then second one, 0. We can cancel this k. So we get 2 power minus 1 by, or simply 1 by root 2. And here 0 power 1 by k will be 0 only. So from these two, actually 1 by root 2 will come many times and also 0 will come many times. So among this, supremum value is 1 by root 2. So 1 by r equal to 1 by root 2 implies r equal to root 2. In this question, we have to check the boundary point also. So substitute z equal to root 2 in the given series itself. So substitute z equal to root 2. What will come? This will be 2 power minus n. So 2 power minus n, 2 power n. So it will be cancelled. So we get summation 1. Summation 1 means 1 plus 1 plus 1, etc. So that is clearly diverges to infinity. So only option D is correct. The power series summation 2 plus minus 1 power n divided by 3 power n x power n converges only for x equal to 0, for all real numbers x, only for minus 1 less than x less than 1, only for minus 1 less than x less than or equal to 1. Compare the given series with the general power series. We get summation ak x power k equal to summation, this is given series, ak equal to, if you put k equal to even number, this power is even number means, see the bracket, or n equal to even number means, so 2 plus 1. So n equal to even number means 2 plus 1 it will be 3. So 3 power n cancelled. So we get 1. Actually here we are writing only the coefficients. Okay. If we put this value is odd number, so we get 1 by 3 power k, because this will be n equal to odd number means this will be minus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 power n is 1. So 1 by 3 power n. Okay, so 1 by 3 power k. So applying root test as usual, 1 by r equal to, this is a formula, supremum of, we have only two choice. One value is 1 and another value is 1 by 3 power k. 1 by 3 power k, the whole power 1 by k. So this k and this k can be cancelled. So we get 1 by 3 here, and the from first one we get 1. So supremum value among these two is 1. So radius of convergence will be 1. 1 by r equal to 1. So r equal to 1. So radius of convergence 1 means, but here two types are asked, whether minus 1 less than x less than 1 or equal to case also. So we have to check this, x equal to 1. So putting x equal to 1 in the given power series, what we get, x equal to 1 means, put x equal to 1, okay, after that x equal to 1 means this will be removed, so you can remove this, and after that for n equal to even terms, the series will be 1 plus 1 plus 1, etc. n equal to even terms alone, 1 plus 1 plus 1, etc. That will be diverges to infinity, right? Actually that is subseries. Subseries itself diverges to infinity means, if you include the odd terms also, this will be diverges to infinity. So option C is eliminated, option D is eliminated. So correct choice is C. Let k be a positive integer, then the radius of convergence of the series summation in terms of factorial is given is. For factorial function, usually use the ratio test. So here 1 by r equal to, this is a ratio test, 1 by r equal to limit n tends to infinity a n plus 1 by a n. Instead of n plus 1, instead of n, replace n plus 1. So we will get like this, divided by this a n is written here, n factorial power k divided by kn factorial. So n plus 1 factorial power k divided by n factorial. So take this, write in the reverse order. This kn factorial will come to the numerator and n factorial will come here, power k. Okay, adjust this, and then this n plus 1 factorial can be written as n plus 1 into n factorial. N plus 1 factorial can be written as n plus 1 into n factorial, and k into n plus 1 factorial, take this k inside. Okay, then next step, see this step. So here n factorial and n factorial get cancelled, and then kn factorial, write as it is. This kn plus k factorial, this step is very important. This kn plus k factorial is written as kn plus 1, kn plus 2, etc. kn plus k times. So what will be the next term? Kn factorial, right? So understand this, kn plus k factorial is written as kn plus 1, kn plus 2, etc. kn plus k into kn factorial. This is like 5 factorial can be written as 5 into 4 into 3 factorial, like that. So 5 factorial can be written as 5 into 4 into 3 factorial. So this is the concept here. Like this we are using this one. So kn factorial get cancelled. So the remaining terms are written here. N from each factor in the denominator. So from the first factor n, second factor n, third factor, last up to last factor take n. How many n's are there? K n's are there. So n power k. And also from the numerator also we can take n outside. Already power k is there, so it will become n power k. So now this n power k and n power k get cancelled. Take limit. So take this limit. This will be 1 by n. Limit n tends to 1 by n is 0. Like this all the terms. Limit 1 by n, limit 2 by n, limit k by n, all the terms will be 0. So we get k. K how many times will come? K times 1 by k power k. So actually 1 by r equal to 1 by k power k. That is also important. 1 by r equal to 1 by k power k. So r equal to k power k. So C is the correct choice. So this question is very important, asked in many exams. Consider the power series summation z power n factorial. The radius of convergence of this series is 0, infinity, 1, a real number greater than 1. Compare the power series with general power series. As usual, we get summation ak z power k equal to summation z power n factorial, that ak equal to. So what is the meaning of this? Whenever the power is factorial of some number, the coefficient will be 1. Otherwise, the coefficient will be 0. Right? When you expand this, put n equal to 1. So n equal to 1 means z power 1 factorial. That is 1 into z. So the coefficient is 1. If you put n equal to 2 factorial. So z square, coefficient of z square is 1. N equal to 3 factorial 6. So z power 6, the coefficient of z power 6 is 1. So what about the coefficient of z cube? 0. Coefficient of z power 4, 0. So this is the meaning. So we have only possibility either 1 or 0. So whenever the coefficients have 0, so we cannot apply ratio test. So apply the root test. 1 by r equal to limit supremum of ak 1 by k. So supremum of 2 choice only. So put 1 and put 0 here. So either 1 or 0. So very important here, not only 1 1 and 1 0. This 1 comes in the series infinitely many times, and also 0. So among this, which one is the supremum value? 1 is the supremum value. So radius of convergence equal to 1. C is the correct choice. So consider the power series summation an z power n, where an equal to number of divisors of n power 50. For example, if you put n equal to 1, a1 equal to number of divisors of 1 power 50. Take positive divisors alone. That means 1. If you put n equal to 2, a2 equal to number of divisors of 2 power 50. We have to count all the divisors of 2 power 50. Actually, this is the meaning, but we are not going to use this, right? Then the radius of convergence is 150, 1 by 50, 0. Note that, very important one, this one is 1 less than or equal to an less than or equal to n power 50. Take any number, okay. So, number of divisors is always less than or equal to that number. Am I right? Suppose if you take 6 means number of divisors of 6 is less than or equal to 6. Okay, like this you can check any number 1 less than or equal to n less than or equal to n power 50. Take limit supremum, all the 3 sequences. Limit supremum 1 power 1 by n will be 1. You can take supremum outside. So, limit 1 power 1 by n will be 1. And here interchange this 50 and 1 by n. So, n power 1 by n will be 1. So, 1 power 50 also 1. See here 1 less than or equal to the number less than or equal to 1. This number is nothing but 1 by r. So, 1 by r equal to 1. So, which implies r equal to 1.
2. Cauchy-Riemann equations. Harmonic function.
So, next important heading, Cauchy-Riemann equation. Definition, let f of z equal to u of x comma y plus I into v of x comma y. Here u and v are real functions in two variables. So, that is why we are putting x and y. So, function, this f is a function from C to C. Then the following set of equations is called Cauchy-Riemann equation. One is ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx. Ux means dou u by dou x. If f is differentiable at z0, then it satisfies CR equation. Actually, here it means, we usually say f, but actual meaning is the first order partial derivatives of f satisfy the CR equation. That is the actual meaning, but we understood. That's why we simply use the letter f satisfies CR equation. Note, the CR equations are only necessary condition, not sufficient. For sufficiency, we need existence and continuity. This also asked many times, whether CR equations are necessary or sufficient means only necessary. For sufficient conditions, we need existence and continuity of these 4 first order partial derivatives in an open set containing z0, because we are checking at the point z0. Harmonic function. A function which satisfies the equation, that is called Laplace equation, del square u equal to 0 or uxx plus uyy equal to 0. Uxx means dou square u by dou x square, second order partial derivative with respect to x. If f of z equal to u plus iv is analytic, then both, there is important result, both real and imaginary parts of an analytic function are harmonic always. Differentiable at a point means we can differentiate at that point and then put the point. So, that is the meaning. Suppose I take this point as a means differentiable at the point a. The meaning is you can differentiate that function, instead of the variable substitute this a, you get the finite value, okay, not 0 by 0 indeterminate form like that. Then analytic at a point a means not only differentiable at the point and also at all points in the neighborhood of a. That is the main difference between differentiable and analytic. Analytic at a means the function is differentiable at a and also in some neighborhood of, see the question, these are all asked in CSR net exam and also in some other exams. Let f from C to C be a complex valued function given by f of z equal to u plus iv. Suppose that the imaginary part v equal to 3xy square, then what we can say? F cannot be holomorphic. Holomorphic means analytic. So, see this different type of names, that is very important. And f is holomorphic on C for a suitable choice of u. F is holomorphic on C for all choice of u. V is not differentiable. These 4 options are given. Test whether the given function is harmonic. To be a real or imaginary part of an analytic function, the function must be harmonic, as we see in the previous theorem. Okay, now we are finding this vxx plus vy equal to 6x. The given function is not harmonic except on y-axis, because x equal to 0 means this will be 0, but except on y-axis this function is not harmonic. So, this function is not harmonic means f cannot be holomorphic for any choice of u. This v is v itself not harmonic. So f cannot be holomorphic for any choice of u. So the choice A is correct. This problem same model, so do it yourself. Let u equal to x cube minus 3xy square plus 2x. For which of the following v u plus iv a holomorphic, that is analytic function on C. So here real part is given, we have to find out the imaginary part. Okay, by CR equation ux equal to vy implies vy equal to, already we know u, so differentiate this with respect to x. What we get? 3x square minus 3y square plus 2, that is equal to vy by using the CR equation. So integrating with respect to y, we get v equal to 3x square y minus 3y cube by 3, that 3 can be cancelled, plus 2y. In general we add a constant, but when we are integrating with respect to y, this pi of x is a constant, so keep it in mind, pi of x is a constant. To find pi of x, we have to use the other CR equation. Already we used ux equal to vy, then the next one is vx equal to minus uy. Vx means already here v is here, so differentiate with respect to x, so we get 6xy plus pi dash of x, and for this side minus uy, differentiate u with respect to y and put minus. When you take this to differentiate with respect to y, this x term, both x term will be 0, and this is minus 6xy, and also put one more minus, though, so this will be plus 6xy. These two 6xy can be get cancelled, so pi dash of x equal to 0. So pi dash of x equal to 0 means actually pi of x is constant, but from this option there is no constant term, that's why we are taking pi of x equal to 0. So the correct choice is B. Okay, because no constant here. Better we can stop in this step also, because no constant here. So the answer is option B. So next question, let f from C to C be analytic function for z equal to x plus iy. These are all usual notation. Okay, u is real part and v is imaginary part. Which are the following always correct, right, or correct? Uxx plus uyy equal to 0. You simply say the real and imaginary parts of an analytic function are harmonic, so this is a Laplace equation, so option A and B are correct. So we have to check C and D. Okay, so u is harmonic implies uxx plus uyy equal to 0. The same reason for V, the second option also. Dou by dou x, dou u by dou x plus dou by dou y, dou u by dou y equal to. Actually, the first one, this uxx plus uyy equal to 0. So take this here. This implies, we are splitting this, so this implies, you can write like this, and then instead of this dou u by dou x, use CR equation, we write dou v by dou y, and for this term dou u by dou y, write minus dou v by dou x. So now this will become dou square v by dou x dou y minus dou square v by dou y dou x. So option C is also correct. We cannot get the answer for this option D. So A, B, C are correct. Not only C, also C. A, B, C are correct choices.
3. Identity theorems.
So important identity theorems. Theorem 1. If f and g are analytic in a domain D and f is identically equal to g in some open disk contained in D, then f is identically equal to g throughout D. The meaning is, D is the domain here. Instead of checking whole domain how the functions f and g are behave, it is enough to check in the open disk itself. For the values in the open disk, the functions are equal, then the functions are equal throughout D. Okay. In the second theorem, instead of some open disk, here we are taking infinite sequence of distinct points. So instead of open disk, for all the points in the open disk, we are taking infinite sequence of distinct points. Okay. So for these points, the functions f of zn equal to g of zn are equal. Then, and one more important condition is, the sequence of distinct points must converge to a point z0. That z0 must be in D. This point is very important. z0 must be in D. Then the two functions are identically equal throughout D. Throughout D means for all the points in D. This type also very important, repeatedly asked. Let D is the set of all z such that modulus of z less than 1. This is called unit disk. Let f from D to C. C means here set of complex numbers. be an analytic function satisfying f of 1 by n equal to 2n by 3n plus 1 for n greater than or equal to 1. Then, so what about these options? So we are here we are using the identity theorems. Here check 1 by n tends to 0, that 0 is in D, that is open disk, and f of 1 by n equal to, this is given, take this n outside, this n can be cancelled. Okay, this n can be cancelled, so the remaining values are given 2 by 3 plus 1 by n. Now consider the function g of z equal to 2 by 3 plus z. F of 1 by n equal to g of 1 by n for each point in the sequence. Take any sequence 1 by n. This means put n equal to 1 means both the values will be same, like that. Hence we get f is identically equal to g. So instead of checking f, now we can check using the function g. So what is the first condition? F of 0 equal to 2 by 3. Find out g of 0. G of 0 equal to 2 by 3. So first option is correct. And then second one, f has a simple pole at z equal to minus 3. Pole means I will say later. Put the denominator equal to 0. 3 plus z equal to 0 means z equal to minus 3. So it is a simple pole. That's also correct. And then third option, put f of 3 equal to 1 by 3. So g of 3 equal to 2 by 3 plus 3, that is equal to 2 by 6. So that is equal to 1 by 3. So this option is also correct. The final option, they say no such f exists. They exist, that's then only you can find out all these values. So this option is incorrect. Only options A, B, C are correct. Let C from C to be a Meromori function analytic at 0. Meromori function analytic at 0 satisfying f of 1 by n equal to n by 2n plus 1 for n greater than or equal to 1. Meromori function means it is analytic except up to finite number of poles. Okay, Meromori function is an analytic function except at finite number of poles. Then, so what are the options are correct? Same model. Here 0 is the accumulation point, because 1 by n only we are checking. 1 by n tends to 0. That 0 is in the whole complex number. Here domain is the whole complex number, so no problem. And then f of 1 by n can be written as take n outside and then divide by cancel by n. So we get 1 by 2 plus 1 by n. Take the function g of z equal to 1 by 2 plus z. These both satisfy. So f equal to g. F equal to g. So clearly we can check by direct substitution like the previous problem. The options A, B, C are correct. Only option D is not true. No such Meromori function exists. Hence the options A, B and C are correct.
4. Zeros and poles of analytic function.
Zeros and poles of an analytic function. Definition: a point z0 is called a zero of order m for the function f if f is analytic at z0 and f and its first m minus 1 derivatives vanish. Vanish means equal to 0 at z0, but mth derivative not equal to 0. So this is a definition for zero of order m. So equation means usually we say root. For the polynomial we use the name 0 instead of root. Okay, so don't confuse. 0 means here not 0. For the value the function gets equal to 0 mean that value is called 0. Theorem: if f has a 0 of order m at z0, then 1 by f has a pole of order m at z0. Conversely, if f has a pole of order m at z0, then 1 by f has a removable singularity at z0. And if we define 1 by f at z0 equal to 0, then 1 by f has a 0 of order m at z0. I will explain about singularities. Then theorem 2. Let f be an analytic function at z0, then f has a 0 of at z0 if and only if f can be written as f of z equal to z minus z0 power m into g of z. This g of z0 not equal to 0. A function f has a pole of order m if and only if in some punctured neighborhood of z0. Punctured neighborhood means neighborhood of z0 without z0. F of z equal to g of z by z minus z0 power m, where g is analytic at z0 and g of z0 not equal to 0. So if a function f has pole of order m means this can be written like this. That function f of z can be written like this. Some g of z divided by z minus z naught power m, where that g of z naught must not vanish. That is g of z naught not equal to 0. See the problem. Consider the function f of z equal to z square into 1 minus cos z. Which of the following are correct? The function f has zeros of order 2 or 0, like these options are given. Let us check. Given function is a product of two functions z square and 1 minus cos z. You can see here z square into 1 minus cos z. For z square, if you put z square equal to 0 means what are the values of z? 0. 0 how many times? 2 times. Say z equal to 0 is a 0 of order 2 for the function z square. Okay, not for the f of z, for the function z square. And then take 1 minus cos z. I already told this. So take 1 minus cos z. Okay, for 1 minus cos z, consider this as g of z. So 1 minus cos z equal to 0 means cos z equal to 1. Then z equal to 2n pi. For all the odd multiple of n pi, or even multiple of pi, the function cos z has 0. And then how many times you have to check? For this, differentiate g of z. Okay, so g dash of z will be sin z. So g dash of 2n pi equal to sin 2n pi. That is also 0. And then g double dash of 2n pi equal to, again differentiate this. Differentiation of sin z is cos z. So cos 2n pi, that is equal to 1. So not equal to 0. So by above definition, this cos 1 minus cos z has 0 of order 2 at each 2n pi, such that n is an integer. Already z square has 0 of order 2 at 0. Hence the given function already 0 2 times, here 0 2 times, so totally 4 times. So the given function has 0 of order 4 at 0, order 4 not 2. And all other points it has 0 of order 2. So the option C and D are correct choices. Which of the following functions f are entire functions and have simple zeros at z equal to ik for all integers k? So entire functions means analytic in the whole complex plane. So simple zero means only one time it comes as a 0. So that is the meaning. First option f of z equal to, this is a polynomial of nth degree. Every polynomial of nth degree can have at most n zeros. But here z equal to ik for all k belongs to z means we need infinite number of zeros. But for the polynomial, at most it can give n zeros only. So this option A is incorrect. C option, second option. F of z equal to a sin 2 pi iz. That is equal to 0 implies this a, take this a this side. So 0 by a will be 0. And then sin 2 pi iz equal to 0 implies 2 pi iz equal to n pi. That means sin theta equal to 0 implies theta equal to n pi. So simplify this. We get like this. Minus I, put minus here, minus ni by 2. Then f dash of z equal to 2 pi ia into cos 2 pi iz. Since n is any integer, then for all even integers, we get zeros at all ik, such that k belongs to z. So f dash of ik equal to, for this function we are checking here, that is not equal to 0. So we get simple zeros. To say it is a simple zero, at z naught, f of z naught equal to 0 and f dash of z naught not equal to 0, this condition we must show. That's why we are showing this not equal to 0. So we get simple 0 only. So like this you can check the option C. So finally both option B and C are correct.
5. Classification of singularities. Taylor series. Lorentz series.
So classification of singular points or singularities. First, what is a singular point? Suppose a function f is differentiable or analytic at a point, then the point is called a regular point. Suppose I take f of z equal to z plus 2. I can differentiate this function z plus 2. So f dash of z will become 1. Okay, so at the point 0 means put 0 equal to 1. This means this is finite and exist, derivative exists. We are saying the function f of z is differentiable at the point z equal to 0. So what is the meaning of analytic? The function not only differentiable at 0 and also differentiable at every neighborhood of 0. So the function is called analytic function. This concept of differentiable at a point. Suppose a point is not differentiable or fails to be analytic at a point, then the point is called singular point or singularity. For example, take the function 1 by z plus 2. Clearly the function is not continuous at z equal to minus 2. So continuity is important to be differentiable and also analytic. So z equal to minus 2 is not continuous point, not a point of continuity. So therefore f dash of z does not exist. So f of z is not analytic at z equal to minus 2. This z equal to minus 2 is called singular point or singularity. We classify the singularities based on positional, character and using Lorentz series. Okay. So classification of singular point. First one, positional classification. There are two types. One is isolated singularity and second one is non-isolated singularity. So isolated singularity means near that singularity there will not be any other singularity. So that is isolated. We use the word island. Island means it is covered by water. Nearby no land will be there. So like that, isolated singularity. In the opposite, non-isolated means if it is not non-isolated singularity means it will contain another singularity at every neighborhood of it. If z0 is a non-isolated singularity, then it contains another singularity at every neighborhood or in every neighborhood of z0. So that is called non-isolated singularity. Then character based classification. The one is removable singularity. Suppose z0 is called removable singularity if limit z tends to z0, f of z exists finitely. For example, if we take the function f of z equal to sin z by z, take the function f of z equal to sin z by z, put z equal to 0, what we get? 0 by 0 will come. So we say this is a singularity. But limit z tends to 0, sin z by z exists by using L'Hopital rule or L'Hospital's rule. Limit z tends to 0, sin z by z, it is 0 by 0 form. So we can differentiate the numerator and denominator separately. So we get cos z by 1 and then take limit z tends to 0, cos z that is equal to cos 0, that is 1. So this exists and finite. So that is the name removable. First by seeing it is singularity, but after taking limit, the limit exists. So we are giving the name removable. And then second one, pole. So limit z tends to z0, f of z does not exist, and limit z tends to z0, z minus z0 power m, f of z exists and non-zero, then z0 is called a pole and this number m is called order of the pole. Third one, essential singularity. It is neither removable singularity nor pole. And then third classification, using Lorentz series. Using Lorentz series also we have three types, same three types: removable singularity, pole and essential singularity. Suppose that f of z is analytic in a domain D, then for all z belongs to this domain, set of all z such that modulus of z minus z not less than r is an open disk with the radius r. Has the Taylor series expansion, f of z equal to summation n equal to 0 to infinity an into z minus z naught power n, where an is given and the circle is given. What is important here is it is a non-negative power, that is important because n is start from 0 to infinity. Okay, non-negative power. So this series is called Taylor series. So not all functions have only non-negative powers or positive powers. Many functions have negative powers also. So for that we are using Lorentz series expansion. The same thing, instead of circle or disk we take annulus. Annulus means the area bounded between the two circles. So we are taking two circles, C1 and C2. For first one the radius is small r, for the second one the radius is capital R. So this is small r less than modulus of z minus z naught less than r. The set of points lying inside this small r to capital R modulus of z minus z naught. Then f of z can be represented by the Lorentz series f of z equal to summation a n z minus z naught power n. This is positive part or non-negative terms, and then this one n equal to 1 to infinity bn z minus z naught power minus n. This contains negative parts. I put in green, so green zone no problem. This is called a regular part because the function is analytic in the regular part. Okay, because it has only positive powers, so no problem. That's why I am putting green color. And then there is a problem in red zone always. So here negative power, so suppose only one term 1 by z minus z naught means z equal to z naught. At the point z equal to z naught, the function is not analytic. So here we have problem means singularities will arise in this part only. That's why this part is called the principal part. Okay, keep it in mind, where an, what is the value of an and what is the value of bn are given. Now classification using Lorentz series. What we are doing means, the Lorentz series contains no negative parts when expanding about the point z equal to z naught. Then the point z naught is a removable singularity. So simply I say no negative part means, so removable singularity, no negative parts, that is no principal part, no negative terms or no principal part. Okay, principal part, no principal part. Pole means finite number of negative terms. It will have principal part but finite number of negative terms, finite number. Then essential equivalent means no negative part, finite number of negative terms, and the third one will be yes, infinite number of negative parts. When you expanding about the point z naught, that is important, where the z naught is, we are giving name to the point z naught. When you expand the function using about the point z equal to z naught, if it has no negative terms, then the point z naught removable singularity. If it contains finite number of negative terms, it is called a pole. If it contains an infinite number of negative terms, it is called essential singularity. For example, the function e power 1 by z, okay, at z equal to 0 will contain infinite number of negative points. You can expand e power x equal to the formula, so it will have infinite number of negative points. Those are the example for essential singularity. For z belongs to C, define f of z equal to e power z by e power z minus 1. Then what we can say, f is entire function. The only singularities of f are poles. F has infinitely many poles on the imaginary axis. Each pole of f is simple. See here, if you put z equal to 0, the denominator will be 0, but the numerator is not 0. E power 0 is 1. So denominator is 0, numerator not 0. So denominator 0 means surely it will have singularity. So it cannot be an entire function. So we can omit the first option immediately. It cannot be entire. So find the zeros of the denominator e power z minus 1. Let denominator alone g of z equal to e power z minus 1. Put equal to 0, that implies e power z equal to 1. E power z equal to 1 means z equal to 2n pi I. Z equal to 2n pi I. Now g dash of z equal to, differentiate this. So e power z minus 0. So e power z. Now also g dash of 2n pi I equal to e power 2n pi I, that is equal to 1, not equal to 0. We are checking this because whether this is 1 or 2. For this only we are checking. So for g of z, g of 2n pi equal to 0, but g dash of 2n pi I not equal to 0. Therefore g has 0 of order 1 at z equal to 2n pi I. Numerator of the given function is e power z, which is analytic everywhere and non-zero at z equal to 2n pi I. Therefore this 2n pi I are simple poles. Pole of order 1 are also called simple poles at 2n pi I. Hence B, C, D are correct choices. Option 1 is eliminated, it cannot be entire function. All other options are correct. The only singularities are poles only, and also the 2n pi I. 2n pi I meant purely imaginary part, so it lies on the imaginary axis. So this is also correct, and each pole of f is simple, so this is also correct. At z equal to 0, the function f of z equal to e power z plus 1 by e power z minus 1 has a removable singularity, a pole, an essential singularity. The residue of f of z at z equal to 0 is 2. See here, the question is asked the singularity at z equal to 0 only. So you no need to find out all the singularities by putting denominator equal to 0. So we have to check at z equal to 0 only. Okay, so the singularity itself given. So no need to find out all other singularities. So answer, like previous problem above, at z equal to 0, the denominator has a 0 of order 1, but the numerator is non-zero and analytic. So numerator is e power z, so no problem for e power z, it is infinitely differentiable. Denominator alone 0 of order 1, therefore it has a simple pole at z equal to 0. Also from residue calculus, if f has a pole of order m at z0, then residue of f at z0 equal to limit z tends to z0 1 by m minus 1 factorial m minus 1th derivative z minus z0 power m, z minus z0 power m, put m here. So m minus 1th derivative, here also m minus 1, but here the power is m, so keep it in mind. So here we have only simple pole, so therefore instead of m we can put 1, so this will be like this, it will become limit z tends to 0, instead of z0 put 0, z into e power z plus 1 by e power z minus 1. If we put directly z equal to 0, it will become 0 by 0 form, so take this 0 to the denominator, this 0, so this will become e power z minus 1 by z. The numerator, take the limit, numerator will be 2, so denominator for now it will be 0 by 0, so apply L'Hopital's rule, then we will get 1, so the final answer is 2, so residue is 2 and it is a simple pole, so the options B and D are correct. At z equal to 0, the function f of z equal to exponential, that is e power z by 1 minus cos z has a removable singularity, a pole and essential singularity. The Lorentz expansion of f of z around z equal to 0 has infinitely many positive and negative powers of z. Answer, limit z tends to 0 f of z equal to limit z tends to 0 exponential of z by 1 minus cos z. This term alone will become 0 by 0 when you put z equal to 0. So cos 0 1, so denominator 0, numerator also 0, so 0 by 0. You can interchange this limit and exponential, that is you can take the limit to the power. So e power limit z tends to 0, z by 1 minus cos z. Now this is 0 by 0 form, that is indeterminate form. By L'Hopital's rule, differentiate the numerator, z will become 1 and 1 minus cos z becomes sin z. So now take the limit, it will be 1 by sin 0, so sin 0 is 0, 1 by 0, 1 by 0 is infinity and e power infinity is infinity. So whenever answer like this, so z equal to 0 is an essential singularity. Option C is correct. Option D is nothing but the definition of essential singularity. That's all. So essential singularity means it will have infinitely many positive and negative powers. So option C and D are correct.
6. Calculus of residues.
Calculus of residues. Residue at a finite point. If f has an isolated singularity at z0, then the residue of f of z at z0 is equal to 1 by 2 pi I integral over C f of z dz, where C is any circle centered at z0 and lying inside a disk about z0. Let f of z equal to, this is the Lorentz series expansion, then residue of f of z at z0 is nothing but Bn, this Bn only, this value. So simply residue of f of z at z0 equal to the coefficient of 1 by z minus z0 in Lorentz expansion. The term B1 is the coefficient of 1 by z minus z0, Actually this is the first definition for residue, but many functions easily cannot be written in the Lorentz expansion, so we will use different methods to find out the residue. Okay, this is one among them. By using this method also we can find out, but not always. So example, find the residue of z power minus 4 e power a z at z equal to 0. Taylor series expansion of e power I a z is given by e power x equal to 1 plus x by 1 factorial plus x square by 2 factorial plus x cube by 3 factorial plus etc. Now divide both the sides by z power 4. Put the denominator z power 4. So the first term 1 by z power 4, the second term z can be cancelled. So z cube, and then third term z square, and then fourth term will be z cube can be cancelled. So residue equal to the coefficient of 1 by z, that is nothing but ia the whole cube divided by 3 factorial, but I cube is minus I, so this is equal to minus I a cube divided by 3 factorial. The residue at the point at infinity. Let z equal to infinity be an isolated singular point of f of z, then residue of f of z at z equal to infinity is given by residue f of z at infinity equal to minus residue of 1 by z square f of 1 by z at 0. That is, to find out the residue of f of z at z equal to infinity, find the residue of f1 by z square into f of 1 by z at 0 and put minus. That is important. Find the residue at z equal to infinity for the function f of z equal to z cube into cos 1 by z. So f of z equal to z cube into cos 1 by z. Define g of z equal to 1 by z square into 1 by z cube into cos z. So that is equal to 1 by z power 5 cos z. So 1 by z power 5, this is the expansion of cos z. Take this 1 by z power 5 inside. So this will become like this. Now residue of f of z at infinity equal to minus residue of g of z at 0. That is equal to the coefficient of 1 by z. Here the coefficient of 1 by z is 1 by 4 factorial. This minus already we have here. So equal to minus 1 by 24. And very important theorem result, Cauchy's residue theorem. If f is analytic in a domain D except for isolated singularities at a1 a2 up to an, then for any simple closed contour gamma in D we have integral over gamma f of z dz equal to 2 pi I into summation residue of f of z at ak. Here the sum is taken overall ak is inside gamma. So check the singular points inside gamma only. Outside gamma you don't bother about the singularities outside gamma. So the meaning is this integral value equal to 2 pi I into sum of the residues at each singularity lies inside the curve gamma. Of integral over c 2z minus 1 by z plus 1 into z minus 3 dz, where c is modulus of z equal to 2. C is the circle, modulus of z equal to 2 is. See this function, put the denominator is equal to 0, minus 1 and 3 are the poles. From this z equal to minus 1 lies inside the circle. You can simply substitute z equal to minus 1. So modulus of minus 1 equal to plus 1, that is less than 2. So this lies inside. Put z equal to 3 means modulus of 3 equal to 3, that is greater than 2. So 3 lies outside the circle. So only find the residues for the singularities lies inside. So that's enough. So I am finding the residue at z equal to minus 1 only. That is equal to, the formula is residue of f of z at z equal to a equal to z minus a into f of z. Limit z tends to a, z minus a into f of z. So here z tends to minus 1. So this will become z minus of minus 1. So z plus 1. So this z plus 1 and z plus 1 cancelled. Substitute z equal to minus 1. Here limit z tends to minus 1. Okay, so cancel this and substitute z equal to minus 1. Minus 3 by minus 4, that is equal to 3 by 4. So by Cauchy's residue theorem, this integral value equal to 2 pi I into sum of the residues, but we have only one residue, so that is 3 by 4, so cancel this 2, so 3 pi I by 2. The sum of the residues of the function f of z equal to e power z by z square plus z square at all its poles. Here the curve is not given, so we have to find out at all its poles the sum of the residues. Here poles are given by, put denominator equal to 0, so z square plus a square equal to 0, so z square equal to minus a square, so z equal to plus or minus ia. For a square put a, for root of minus 1 plus or minus I. Now R1 equal to residue at z equal to plus ia, that is equal to, the formula is limit z tends to ia into z minus ia, limit z tends to z naught into z minus z naught f of z. That's why there is a formula I am using here. This z square plus a square can be written like this: a square plus b square equal to a plus ib into a minus ib. Okay, so now cancel these two terms. The remaining put z equal to ia, so e power ia divided by here ia, so ia plus ia equal to 2ia. So what is the relation between ia and minus ia? This minus ia is the conjugate of plus ia. So R2 equal to residue at z equal to minus ia, use the same concept, conjugate of residue of f of z at ia. So replace I by minus I, that is a conjugate. So the power will be e power minus ia, and the denominator I will be minus I. So replace, change the take the I minus to the power. So this is the answer. So sum of the residue, I mean this is the answer for residue at z equal to minus ia. So therefore sum of the residues equal to are these two values. Here take the 1 by a outside. Okay, this can be written like this: e power ia minus e power minus ia by 2i. So this is nothing but sin a. Okay, this value is nothing but sin a. So final answer is sin a by a. If two functions f of z and g of z are analytic in a domain D bounded by a rectifiable Jordan curve C and are continuous on C, and modulus of g of z less than modulus of f of z for every point z belongs to C, then the two functions f of z and f of z plus g of z have same number of zeros in D. This theorem is known as dash. Can you answer? The answer is Cauchy's theorem. The number of zeros of the function f of z equal to z power 4 minus 5z plus 1, which lie on the annulus 1 less than modulus of z less than 2 is. So the answer, consider the circle C1. C1 means this modulus of z equal to 1 we are taking. Take f of z equal to minus 5z. There are three terms. This term we are taking it as minus 5z, and the remaining z power 4 plus 1 as g of z. As f of z has 1 0, f of z means this one, we get z equal to 0. That z equal to 0 lies inside the circle modulus of z equal to 1. So f of z has 1 0 in modulus of z equal to 1. Therefore f of z plus g of z has also 1 0 in modulus of z less than modulus of z equal to 1. And one more thing, we have to check the condition, modulus of g of z less than modulus of f of z, that is satisfied, then only we can write like this. So consider the circle 2, second one, modulus of z equal to 2. Here take f of z equal to z4, same polynomial but used differently for each circle, and g of z equal to minus 5z plus 1. So this function f of z z4 has 4 zeros, all are 0 only, z equal to 0 4 times in modulus of z equal to 2. So therefore f of z plus g of z has 4 zeros in modulus of z equal to 2. Modulus of g of z less than modulus of f of z. So see here, the inner circle is modulus of z equal to 1. So in this circle 1 0 is there, that is also 1 0 here. So here we have 1 0, and then modulus of z equal to 2 means this side anywhere, maybe here or here or here, that 4 zeros may be anywhere, but already 1 zero is inside, so we are subtracting. We need the zeros in this region, okay, in this region only. So we are subtracting 4 minus 1, that is equal to 3. Both places check this condition. Also modulus of g of z less than modulus f of z, then only we can apply this result. So see here, modulus of g of z equal to, here g of z is z power 4 plus 1 less than or equal to, you can split like this, modulus of z power 4 plus 1, modulus of z is nothing but 1 in the circle, so 1, so 1 plus 1, 2. So modulus of g of z less than or equal to, we start with less than or equal to, so here also we can put, so 2. Modulus of f of z equal to, f of z is minus 5z. So modulus of minus 5z, so modulus of minus 5 into modulus of z, here also modulus of z is 1, so this value is 5. So this value we can put here less than 5. So instead of 5 we can put f of z. So modulus of g of z less than modulus of f of z, that condition is satisfied. So like this you have to check for this also. If f of z is analytic inside and on C except at a finite number of poles, then 1 by 2 pi I integral over C f dash of z by f of z dz equal to, here n denotes number of zeros and p denotes number of poles. Actually options are given, so the answer is n minus p. This integral value is nothing but n minus p. Liouville's theorem. A bounded entire function is constant. A function is entire and also bounded. Bounded means its range modulus of f of z less than or equal to m for all z. Then the function must be a constant. If the function f of z equal to u plus iv is entire and u is bounded, then f of z equal to 0 for all z. Actually this u is bounded means this, the function f of z is entire, therefore f of z will be constant. F of z will be constant but need not be 0. So this is incorrect. F of z is constant. This is correct. F dash of z equal to 0. So f of z constant means differentiate this. The derivative of constant is 0. So this is also correct. So finally B and C are correct choices. Which of the following is not an entire function? If you take f of z equal to I, this is a constant, complex constant. Constant functions are always entire function. E power minus z, exponential functions are always entire function. This is a polynomial. Polynomials are always entire function. So this only not an entire function. Because tan pi by 2 equal to infinity, it fails to be continuous at pi by 2 and odd multiple of pi by 2. So it cannot be analytic. So it cannot be an entire function. Important result: if f of z is an entire function and u is constant, then f of z will be constant. If f of z is entire, v is constant, then f of z will be constant. If f of z is entire and u or v is bounded, then f of z will be constant. Okay, these are the important results.
7. Bilinear transformation. Cross ratio.
Bilinear transformation or Mobius transformation. T of z or w equal to az plus b by cz plus d. Important condition is AD minus BC not equal to 0. The numerator we have one factor, that is linear. Degree 1 means linear. The denominator also linear. That's why it is called bilinear. So bi means 2. Where A, B, C, D are complex constant. This type also very important. Repeatedly questions are asked. Define f of z equal to w equal to az plus b by cz plus d, ad minus bc not equal to 0. Therefore it is a bilinear transformation in general. H plus equal to the collection of z such that y greater than 0. So H plus means nothing but upper half plane, because this is a x-axis or a real axis and this is y-axis or imaginary axis. So y greater than 0 means this area above the x-axis. So this is called upper half plane H plus here. And then like this, y less than 0 means this area. So this is lower half plane below the x-axis. And also we can define right half plane, that is d plus. X greater than 0 means right half plane and then y x less than 0 means left of plane. So this side fully. Right side of y axis is d plus and left side of y axis is d minus, this fully. So this is a notation. The function f of z equal to z by 3z plus 1. So whether actually maps means in z plane behave h plus and also in w plane behave h plus, like that. Maps h plus onto h plus and h minus onto h minus, like that. 4 options are given. So here I give you a shortcut. So instead of checking big question, so you can do very simply. If AD minus BC greater than 0, then upper of plane is mapped to upper of plane, lower of plane is mapped to lower of plane, etc. So therefore, check here. You see this like A is 1, B is 0, and C is 3, and D is 1. Expand like determinant of order 2. Okay, AD minus BC. So this will be 1. This 1 is greater than 0. Therefore, H plus mapped to H plus and H minus mapped to H minus. This only correct. All other options are, I mean, it mapped to the same region. Okay, that's the meaning. Right? Here H plus onto H minus. So these are all incorrect. Here H plus onto D plus, H plus onto D minus. These are all incorrect. Only option A is correct. Z belongs to C of the form Z equal to X plus IY. Define. Like previous problem, H plus upper of plane, H minus lower of plane, D plus right of plane, D minus left of plane. The function f of z equal to 2z plus 1 by 5z plus 3. So here A is 2, B is 1, C is 5 and D is 3. So AD minus BC. AD is 2 into 3, 6 minus BC, 5 into 1, 5. So this is equal to 1. 1 is greater than 0. So therefore, by previous shortcut, this is the correct answer. Any Mobius or bilinear transformation maps a generalized circle. Generalized circle means line or circle. The common name is generalized circle to a generalized circle. Okay, this means whether either by linear transformation circle is mapped to circle or circle is mapped to line. Line is mapped to circle or line is mapped to line. So that like that you have to keep it in mind. Not like this. Circle is mapped to circle, line is mapped to line. This is the wrong. Okay, so wrong thing. So keep it in mind. Generalized circle means like this. Circle mapped to circular line. Lines mapped to circular line, like that. Right. If AD minus BC greater than 1 means we can say H plus is mapped to H plus. For other cases, how to find out? Find 3 points, 3 distinct points from the domain and find its images on the codomain. Okay. By using this, we can find out the region. Okay. We will be given the regions, either open disk or H plus H minus, like that. So by using this result, 3 distinct points, like 1 or 2 points from x axis and from y axis, or not on the axis, we can find out 3 distinct points and find its images. So using this, we can find out whether which region is mapped to which region. So we can find out. The invariant or fixed points of the transformation W equal to Z plus 1 by 1 minus Z is R. So what is fixed point or invariant point? Under the transformation, if a point A is mapped to the same point A, then the point A is called a fixed point or invariant point. The meaning is it does not change its image. So that's why it is called fixed or invariant. Invariant means does not change. So there is a meaning. So here, how to find out this? Look at this. This is the element. This is its image. So to find out the fixed points, the element and image must be same. So in the general form, Z is the element, W is its image. So the fixed points are given by replace W or T of Z by Z and then solve this. So Z equal to Z plus 1 by 1 minus Z. If you solve this, you get the answer as Z equal to plus or minus I. When C equal to 0, the fixed points of the bilinear transformation W equal to AZ plus B by CZ plus D are. It is asked in Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission Statistical Inspector 2018. For maths and statistics graduate, there are special exams in TNPSC. Okay, right. So how to find out this? C equal to 0 is given. So remove this term. You can substitute and find out. If you substitute Z equal to infinity, what will you get? Z equal to infinity means A into infinity is infinity. Infinity plus B is infinity. Infinity by D is infinity. So you get W also infinity. So infinity is mapped to infinity. So this one choice. And then second one, instead of Z, substitute B by D minus A. Again you will get the same B by D minus A. So this is the answer, right? So instead of doing like this, putting Z equal to and then solving, you can substitute and find out. This objective type is actually very easy to us. Instead of doing directly, you can substitute and find out in many occasions for many problems. Okay. Normal form or canonical form of a bilinear transmission. If a bilinear transmission W equal to T of Z has exactly two fixed points Z1 and Z2, then for some non-zero constant k, it satisfies the equation. We can write like this. Okay, W minus Z1 by W minus Z2 equal to k into Z minus Z1 by Z minus Z2. So like this, if it has only one fixed point, then it can be written like this. 1 by W minus Z1 equal to 1 by W minus Z1 equal to k dash plus 1 by Z minus Z1, that is equal to where k dash non-zero, not equal to 0. These equation 1 and 2 are called normal form or canonical form of bilinear transmission. Results under translation. Translation means W equal to Z plus A, and magnification and rotation, circles mapped into circles and lines mapped into lines. Under the transformation, W equal to 1 by Z. This is called inversion. The image of a line through the origin is a line through the origin. These are all important results we can apply when solving the problems. Second point, the image of a line not through the origin is a circle through the origin. The image of a circle through the origin is a line not through the origin. Last point, fourth one, the image of a circle not through the origin is a circle not through the origin. Classification of bilinear transformation based on normal form. So as usual, W equal to AZ plus B by CZ plus T is the bilinear transmission. Parabolic. The bilinear transmission with only one fixed point is called parabolic. The bilinear transmission with only one fixed point is called the parabolic. Parabolic transmission. Here we are naming the transformation. Okay. In this case, this A minus D the whole square plus 4BC equal to 0. And then elliptic. A bilinear transmission with the two fixed points is called elliptic, and also in this case this value A minus D the whole square plus 4BC not equal to 0, such that modulus of k equal to 1 and k not equal to 1, this is very important, k not equal to 1 but modulus of k must be 1, is said to be elliptic. In the normal form, k is of the form, this k will be in the normal form, k equal to e power I alpha, where alpha not equal to 0. And then hyperbolic, a bilinear transformation with the two fixed points, that is in this case also this value not equal to 0 and k greater than 0, k belongs to R. Here k is a real number in this hyperbolic case, but elliptic case this k need not be a real number. Okay, this is called hyperbolic. Laxodromic, a bilinear transformation that is neither hyperbolic, elliptic nor parabolic is called laxodromic. That is, it has two fixed point and satisfies the condition k equal to A into e power I alpha. A into e power I alpha, where A not equal to 0 and alpha not equal to 1. Example, find all the bilinear transformation which have fixed points as minus 1 and plus 1. Let W equal to T of Z, that is AZ plus B by CZ plus T, where AD minus B is not equal to 0 has two fixed points. Consider, okay, here fixed point means I already told 1 is mapped to 1. So T of 1 equal to 1. In this one is for here, substitute 1, and this one substitute instead of Z. Okay, instead of Z put 1. What will get? This side A plus B by C plus D, and this side 1. So A plus B by C plus D equal to 1, which implies A plus B equal to C plus D. Take these two terms this side. So A plus B minus C minus D equal to 0. This is from this T of 1 equal to 1. And then second condition, T of minus 1 equal to minus 1. minus 1 equal to a into minus 1 plus b divided by c into minus 1 plus d. After simplifying, we get minus a plus b minus c plus d equal to 0. We have to solve these two equations. Okay, these two equations. Then we get a equal to d and b equal to c. Substitute in the given equation, that is t of z equal to az plus b by bz plus a, where a square minus b square not equal to 0. So this transformation, these are all transformation have minus 1 and plus 1 as fixed points. The next example, find the fixed points and the type of bilinear transformation given that w equal to t of z equal to z by z minus 2. To find out the fixed point, put w or t of z equal to z. So therefore z by z minus 2 equal to z. So take this z minus 2 this side. So z into z minus 2 equal to z. Simplify this, z square minus 2z minus z equal to 0. It will be z square minus 3z. Take z outside. So z into z minus 3 equal to 0. So z equal to 0 and 3 are the fixed points. Now consider. So two fixed points, we are trying this method, this form. So w minus one fixed point divided by w minus another fixed point equal to, this is z by z whole divided by z minus 2. Okay, z whole divided by z minus 2 as it is in the question. After simplifying this, we get k equal to minus 1 by 2. So k equal to minus 1 by 2 means it is two fixed points. So it is not parabolic. And also modulus of k not equal to 1. So not hyperbolic and also not elliptic. So the final one is logarithmic. So this transformation is logarithmic. Important note, given three distinct points z1, z2, z3 in C infinity. C infinity means C union infinity. There exists a unique Mobius transformation T of z such that T of z1 equal to 0, T of z2 equal to 1, T of z3 equal to infinity. The meaning is to find out the bilinear transformation, find three numbers, three distinct points z1, z2, z3 which are mapped to 0, 1, infinity. Okay, that's enough. Cross ratio, take four numbers z, z1, z2, z3. We can find out like this. Okay, this one or this one, both are same. This value is called cross ratio. Actually, we are find out the ratio, that's why it is called cross ratio, denoted by, the notation is this one. The cross ratio is precisely the Mobius transformation which sends z1, z2, z3 into 0, 1, infinity. Okay, take these three values are mapped to, these 3 points z1, z2, z3 mapped into 0, 1 and infinity, and is the unique Mobius transformation or bilinear transformation. For the set of three distinct points we have, you can interchange this, all these are same. There are 4 factorial equal to 24 cross ratios are possible, but out of these only 6 are different, all other are same. The cross ratio is invariant. Invariant means does not change under bilinear transformation. That is, if you take 4 points this side and its images under the bilinear transformation, these two will be equal. This is the cross ratio in z plane equal to the cross ratio of their respective images in the w plane. So both are same. And then this one is very important result. 4 distinct points all lie on a circle or on a straight line if and only if their cross ratio is a real number. Okay, this question is repeatedly asked in a set exam like that. All lie on a circle, the points must lie on a circle. Okay, the 4 points must lie on the circle. So like this, 1 point, 2 point, 3, 4, like that. These points are called concyclic points, right? Or on the straight line. These 4 points must lie on the straight line. We can say collinear points. Okay, if the cross ratio is a real number, then the points are either concyclic points or collinear points. Apart from acting resource person for colleges and institutions, I am taking online courses for these exams at affordable fees. This is for your information.
For your information. Online courses offered. CSIR Net Mathematics. SET, TRB PG Assistant, Polytechnic Lecturer. And other exams. Note, topic-wise coaching also available.
Thank you for your participation.
Learning never fail. Happy learning.